John Newton and Krista Swanson rejoining us. All right, what's difficult to project is how possible tariffs and trade could impact prices in the months ahead. Last time it was really soybeans that saw the biggest impact when we were in a trade war. John, as you look ahead, though, more economists in the Ag Economist Monthly Monitor say this time around corn could be at bigger risk. What do you think?
Well, I think you have to wait and see what actually happens. There's been a lot of talk, but nothing's actually happened just yet. And if something happens, then obviously you're going to evaluate what the potential impacts would be. I mean, for corn, Mexico's our top market. So if there were something to happen with Mexico, then certainly that's a concern. China's not buying a whole lot of corn right now, so I think that's why the economists and the monitor really looked at corn, looked at Mexico, and came to that conclusion.
Yeah, and that is key because the monthly monitor did show it's not just China that we're at risk and losing some market share there, but Mexico as well. And Krista, when you look at how corn could be at risk if we do enter this higher tariff environment, I know you and American Soybean Association as well did some analysis on what it would cost.
Yeah, and to John's point, I mean, what our analysis looked at with American Soybean Association was specifically China and what would be the situation if China came back at U.S. corn and soybeans with retaliatory tariffs. And in that type of situation, we were looking at if a 60% tariff on U.S. corn and soybeans translated to a 13-cent per bushel drop in corn price in this projection modeling that we did. And but that doesn't account for Mexico. And if we have a situation with Mexico, that's a whole different ballgame because over 40% of our corn exports have gone to Mexico this year. Just a really critical trading partner for corn, but also a lot's left to be seen. A couple things here. We're talking about a possible tariff situation, but also at the end of the previous trade war with tariffs, we ended up with a trade deal with purchase commitments for U.S. corn. And so, I think that a lot's left to be seen on what type of
Mhm.
impact this is going to have.
Yeah, and if we can see a
Can I
phase
can
two.
I can I
Yep,
hit on that? I mean, because that's an excellent
absolutely.
point. Everyone wants to talk about the negatives associated with tariffs. They forget that for 3 straight years, China bought more than $30 billion worth of U.S. Agricultural products. You take those purchases, combine it with the prevent plant year that we had in 2019. That's one of the reasons why we saw net farm income reach historic highs in 2022. So there are two sides to this coin that folks need to consider.
Yeah, and we explored that a couple of weeks ago. Well, when we asked economists what will impact crop prices over the next 6 months, of course, South America is still a big factor. Last month, it was all about South America, but this month, more economists are talking trade. But, John, you look at soybean crush here domestically, it smashed an all time record in October. So, how much could domestic demand come into play here with prices?
I certainly think, if there are headwinds on the trade front, you definitely look at strength in the domestic market. I think we've seen soy oil, exports have gone through the roof. There's just so many opportunities in the domestic market. I think you need to see some clarity over what. The 40B or 45Z, we saw a flip flop this week there on what we may potentially see next Congress, next administration. Do they put more clarity on those rules? And I think overall in ag right now, no matter what sector you're in, if you're in the dairy sector, the cattle sector, hogs, you name it, the name of the game is uncertainty. Planning ahead and risk management is going to be really key.
Real quick, 45Z. John mentioned it. We had a little bit of whiplash with that this week, Krista. But if we don't have this guidance for the biofuels tax credit, if we don't have 45Z, do you think we can still see increased demand with sustainable aviation fuel?
I mean, I think that some sort of tax credit is going to be important for corn and other crops like soybeans to have a major role in sustainable aviation fuel. And so whether that's 45Z or something else in the future, I think that's left to be seen. But I mean, to be clear, 45Z is a credit that goes to biofuels producers, but it's depending on some sort of change at the farm level. So there was definitely, when we look at the predecessor 40B, there was some major improvements that are going to be needed in 45Z, and a lot depends on what this, what the regulation that they come out with looks like. But I mean, we've been advocating very strongly that for farmers to have a role in this and really get to benefit and be profitable. We need it has to, there had to be a lot of changes made. There has to be a transparent market that allows farmers to have access to participate in that.
Krista, John, I really appreciate you joining us this weekend. We need to take a quick break and then we'll have much more actually from Machinery Pete next.
Sustainable Farming Week is brought to you by Neogen. Prioritizing herd health and embracing genomic testing are key steps toward maximizing your operation's success. Stay ahead of the curve, invest in your herd's health, and uncover their full potential.